Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen, my new fall kitchen I should say. If you watched last week's video, you know that I did a little bit of decorating in here and that was a lot of fun. Today I'm doing a tutorial style video making a homemade apple pie, and I'm actually pretty excited to finally get this video on because it seems like every single time that I make a homemade pie, I'm asked by friends or people on the YouTube channel. They want to know from start to finish how to make pie, and I have thought about doing things like a workshop or a live online workshop even, but maybe that's in my future. But for now, I think video, YouTube, sharing this way is probably the best way to go about it. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial style video as I walk you through from start to finish how to bake a homemade apple pie. Love to make pies. I don't get to do them a lot because it's just the two of us, and making an entire pie is a lot for us. So if I have an excuse like a holiday or a gathering to make a pie, I absolutely do. Today's pie is extra special because I'm going to actually bake this for my best friend whose birthday is coming up here in just a couple of days. She's visiting me later, so I'm getting the pie ready now. I have gifted her the dish that it comes with and the pie, of course, and I thought it was just a cute little thing to give to her. So that's who we're doing this pie for today, and it's the perfect time to finally get this video done. This recipe is actually perfect for beginners, so if you've never made a pie before, this is a great one for you to start with. And even for myself, I consider myself a pretty advanced pie maker, but it's a recipe that I go back to time and time again because it's basically foolproof, I think. So it's delicious, it's buttery, and I'm going to give you my best tips for baking the pie throughout the video. And so I'm going to finish up my coffee now, get my hair up, and we're going to get started. Making a pie, I always start with the crust. So it's important to have very cold butter. I cube it up to help the food processor along. If you do not have a food processor, you can go ahead and add the flour and butter to a large bowl and just use a fork to work the butter through the flour if you'd like. But I'm going to use my food processor. It's a lot quicker, and you'll see why in just a second. You can find the entire recipe in the description box below, but I'm going to walk you through it here as well. So we're going to start with 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. I have 1 cup of cube salted butter that I'm going to put into the food processor, place the lid on, and then through the pour top, I'm just going to add about 3 to 5 tablespoons of really cold water. Blitz it until it comes together, and it'll be a nice dough ball for you, kind of crumbly. Remove it from the food processor, press it all together, and then we're going to cut it in half because one is the bottom and one will be the top crust. There's a lot of butter in this recipe, so don't worry if you see chunks of butter in your dough. That's perfectly normal. You can add a little bit of flour to prevent sticking, and I always recommend adding flour to your rolling pin before you get started, and also rolling on a piece of parchment paper is super helpful. Next, we're going to take a sharp knife and just trim over the edges that are overlapping, and then save the rest of that dough to sort of press into any areas that you see need a little bit more pie crust, because what you want is the pie crust to cover the entire dish. It's really important to keep our pie crust chilled, so I'm going to place this into the fridge along with the other dough. I have some apples that were freshly picked from my parents' farm, and I don't even know what kind they are, but I'm going to be using them for this pie. You could use Fuji, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith apples are great, but whatever apples you have, we're going to need about 8 cups. Whatever kind of apple you use, make sure that you peel them first. before chopping them up. Those wedges that people cut for pies are beautiful for presentation, but I always think chopping into like a bite-sized piece is best for taste. It's all really just about preference. We're going to get these into a large bowl, and I'm going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar. You can use dark or light for this. I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. To help thicken our pie, we're going to add 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and I have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice going in. We're going to get this all mixed and into our pie crust, and then it's time to roll out the top. Place the chilled crust over and begin pressing down on the pie crust corners to create a good seal between the 2 pie crusts. Trim off the edges with a sharp knife. I'm going to come back and shape it with my fingers. You can also use a fork along the edges if you'd like to create that very classic ribbing that you see. A fork does wonders for that, but I like to shape it with my fingers, and I'll show you how here in the video. I just use like my pincher fingers, and I kind of create little triangles around the edge. I'm going to cut slits into the top of the pie, about 4 of them, to allow steam to escape as the pie bakes. Next up, we're going to make an egg wash to brush our pie crust with. I have 1 egg and about a tablespoon of water. You can also use a tablespoon of milk if you'd like. This will help brown our pie crust and create a nice texture. To finish our pie off, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of sugar across the top, which creates a very nice look and sheen to our pie. Now for my baking secret. I bake this pie at 425 degrees for 20 minutes, then I drop the temp down to 350 and finish baking it for 50 minutes. This will create a nice flaky crust. It's a good idea to bake your pie on a baking sheet to catch any drippings. And here is our pie, nice and ready to go, warm from the oven. When you bake this, make sure that you allow it to rest for 3 to 4 hours after it comes out of the oven before slicing. This will help the juices develop and not be too runny when you cut into it. Thank you so much for joining me today. You could find the full recipe in the description box below. I will see you guys on the next one.